Holy crap, that was long. I don't even know how that made me feel. It was a weird thing. Actually, it reminded me like of an old video game, River City Ransom. Like I was playing this old video game till the pirate part. So what's up, fellas? Welcome to the weekly meeting. This is your host Lootz, and we are live on Float. If you guys haven't checked out Float, it's an awesome social media, and we're on some of those socialistic ones too. So we have a couple interesting projects here today. One of them I've been following for a few years, and the other one I have no idea who they are. But we'll let them tell us who they are. That's what interviews are for, right? But I did prepare for Raptoreum, so we have the two eyes of the owl there, Charlie and Piggy. And let's get you guys on stage. I think you guys have invites. I'm just going to invite to speak. And invite to speak. Guys, there's a little green bar at the top. Charlie and Piggy. Just accept it. There you go. How you doing?
Hey, not bad at all. Thanks for having us on, man.
Oh, man, it's been a while. We got to catch up every once in a while, right?
Yeah, for sure.
This is how I do it. So we've been I've known Piggy for many years now.
Yeah, 4 years.
He's an
Something
avid
like
reader.
that.
He's an avid reader. If you guys like books, he's your man.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, we started the whole. Yeah, I go way back with some of those torrent trackers.
So Raptoreum has been a long, bumpy ride so far, right?
Yeah, I mean, we started off with forking Ravencoin code base, and that turned out to be utter rubbish in terms of security.
Mm-hmm.
Then we went over. We had a good, long, hard look at Dash's version 14 release, and liked what we saw.
Now
They've gone beyond.
Doesn't
Dash used
have
to be
meta
hot garbage.
Okay, so what makes it better these days?
The 14 release, where everything is deterministic, which means master nodes are written into the chain in a specific order, and they're literally written into the chain. They're not a separate list on its own. Things being on its own list means it's exploitable in many ways, and the addition of decision-making capabilities to the nodes. Limited decision-making capabilities, but still autonomous decision-making capabilities where basically the nodes vote on if things are valid or not on the chain. And if they come across as valid, they get to go on. This is essentially what in the warm-up, you were talking a little bit about chain locks. This is what chain locks do. When a new block is mined, basically the nodes vote on, did we vote any of these transactions onto the chain earlier? If they all say no, and it's all new, nice and good, fine, it gets to go on chain. But if it starts conflicting with earlier instances or earlier votes, then no, it doesn't go anywhere. And we had a bit of a rough start.
Yeah, I know. I've been there.
Not really a rough start, but a slightly rough start. We had, compared to some other proof of work coins, a very unhealthy hash distribution at the start, with one pool being 60 to 70% of the hash for a while. That was okay, because they were still getting orphan blocks from our chain locks working.
All right. So now let's break it down a little more because that was a little mixed up there. You
Yeah.
know, people don't understand what chain locks are yet. Can you explain chain locks? That's what makes
Sure.
chain locks is one of the things that makes Raptoreum special, correct?
Yeah, it is. Especially since we have it scaling with the network size. Dash, when they initially published it, they had it set to work with a minimum number of 500 nodes and up. We managed to adjust it so it will start from working from essentially from 10 nodes and up. And
Okay.
then it will utilize more and more nodes. The more nodes are used for chain locks, the better it works overall, because the
Right.
less chance there is of two blocks having propagated on the network without the nodes having seen.
Okay. So
But, but it's
so
still a very small chance when working with the, what do you call it, with the smaller sizes.
but it's effectively a 51% attack protection mechanism, correct?
Yes, correct. What happens is they vote on each block. All of the nodes vote to check that the hash signature they put on each block is valid. Once it's considered valid, then it goes on chain. That checking process basically just checks that there are none of the transactions from the preceding blocks, and it's not reorganizing anything.
Okay.
So
Uh,
if you're not repeating transactions, you're not reorganizing anything, then you're effectively 51% protected.
Somebody said your voice is like the guy from the audiobooks. It is. He's right. Oh man. So your Ghost Rider algorithm, how does it differ from Dash's algorithm? If you guys, took some
Oh,
code from it, or
it's extremely different. I mean, we do share some similarities. I mean, Dash were the ones who pioneered the whole concept of randomly putting algorithms together with X11,
right? I've
which
seen a lot of
then
different kinds.
other people expanded on with different types of X series algorithms. But the first to pioneer it, where it really worked well, were Dash. Wolf, I don't know if he's here with us tonight. Ah, no, he's not. He put out the first decent X11 GPU miner,
I bet
and
he did.
It was available for the Darkcoin. Back then, it was called Darkcoin for their launch.
Hmm. Yeah,
It
I just
caused
talked.
some issues with difficulty.
I just spoke to Wolf a few days ago. He's doing okay. Uh, Wolf, guys, this guy he's been in crypto. I've known him for even longer than Piggy now, like probably 6 years. He helped me set up my first Litecoin miners, and he had some type of special miner back in the day that would mine better than all the other miners that he gave me, which was totally awesome. You don't find people like that in the community anymore that go out of their way to help other people.
No, not very many. It's a bit sad, really. A lot of it has gone downhill, but
Yeah, well, this DeFi,
maybe that's just us getting older.
this DeFi stuff corrupts people, bro.
Yeah, yeah, but I mean, it's why do real work that requires thinking when you can issue a shit coin in 20 seconds?
So let's talk about the supply of your coin. Right?
Yeah,
It's a pretty huge supply there, man. So
yeah,
how
it
do you
is.
see it working?
I mean, it's a huge supply for two reasons. One, we want to keep once we start having assets live on the chain, we want to keep the price for them low. We're not going to try to, for example, inflate our own worth by burning a lot of coins. So where the economics for this actually come from Raven. with the one big difference that we don't burn the coins. We're going to pay them out as additional rewards to the nodes to reward network usage. Which means we don't have the problem that many masternode coins have, where the nodes are assigned a disproportionately large percent of the blockchain, of the issuance on each block.
Everyone gets the same.
Yeah, it's. I would say we've hit on a reasonably fair solution.
Okay.
Which is, I mean, you can always argue for and against, and they're investing a lot. Yes, sure, they're investing a lot, but once we get to the point where we're running smart contracts, they're also risking a lot if they want to attack our network or mess with our network. I mean, smart nodes, master nodes, there's nothing stopping a participant from uploading malicious code into the node they're running to try to make it mis-execute a smart contract. Other than the fact that we have more or less the logic worked out for the parameters. It's a question of implementing it in code now. We have logic worked out for the parameters that will allow for the other nodes to validate that every node is doing an honest job. Which means if Peter decides to screw our network over, then Peter's collateral for his node is going to get locked up.
I'll kick Peter's ass.
Exactly. But the chain will start kicking his ass, in this case, before you and I can even get a hold of him.
All right. So I really love the fact that this is a CPU mineable coin. Now, do you imagine that, like how long do you imagine it's going to stay a CPU mineable coin?
Wolf is working on a GPU miner. But that said, we're probably not going to see enormous gains from GPU mining. Dollar for dollar, it still looks like CPUs will come out a bit ahead in terms of hash.
Right. And at this point, you might as well buy a CPU with the cost of the cost of a GPU is like $3,000.
Yeah, but I mean, GPU prices at the moment are kind of crazy. Yeah.
You might as well get a Ryzen 64 core and call it a day.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, you can always add GPUs to one of those later if you get a decent board with it.
I'm sure people would use their GPUs, and I would suggest not to use it for this, but to use it to mine something more lucrative.
Yeah,
and then
exactly,
and use something like
the income from that to support the coins they like. Buy some Pilot,
Correct.
buy some RTM.
And Zergpool does this already, and they already have a Raptoreum on it, guys.
Yeah.
So you could mine other coins.
The only thing about Zergpool though is he's a bit expensive on the conversion.
Yeah, he is. But you know what? I'm willing to pay for somebody to do all that work for me. If think about it like this, if you have to do it yourself, you have to log into an exchange. There's some exposure and some privacy lost right there, right? Because even though you have mitigation at hand, you could still be, it's still a mitigating factor that you don't need. So if you don't have to go in there, sell your coins, buy the coin you want, and then send it to your wallet. I mean, this service does it all for you, and I think that's worth a few percentage points on everything that you get.
Yeah, but once we start getting closer to 20, it's a bit iffy. 10-15%, yeah, sure, but once it goes over that,
well, the solution here, the solution here is to build our own multi-mining pools, man.
Yeah, to build some better ones. That's
Right.
definitely an
Zerg pool.
option as well.
Zerg pool is like the only player in the market. I think there's Z pool and Luxor are kind of doing the same. It's like it's hit or miss for the coins you want though. Like some
Yeah.
of them have them, some of them don't.
Pro hashing are good, and they don't overcharge.
Oh no,
Not in the
I
same
haven't
way
heard of
at all. Pro hashing are probably the original multi-pool conversion concept.
Oh, interesting. I never heard of pro hacking.
They've been doing it for a very long time.
See, this is how we learn, guys.
I had ASICs pointed at them for years.
All right. So basically what I'm doing is, I don't hate me for this, all right, but I'm converting Raptoreum to pirate using Zerg pool.
Yeah, but it is. It's all a use case. It ties up coins.
But it's only a small percentage. So I do have mining hash going to r-pool as well.
Yeah.
So if you build up a certain amount of coins, guys, so get on it now and start mining with your CPUs. And once you get to, I believe it's 1.2 million coins, which is easy to do. It's a huge supply. It's like Doge. Once you get there, you can set up your first master node. And then from there, your master node earns you like 1,000 coins a day. And that'll make the process go even faster. So if you're mining and now you have income coming in from the nodes, now you have two revenues filling up your purse. And at some point, then you're going to set up your second node, and you just keep doing that, and you keep doing that for like a couple years. And then at some point, when this project is fully built out, because it's been 3 years, I've been following them. I wouldn't have him on if I didn't think it was a solid project, and these guys didn't know what they're doing. Now I know a couple of the developers on the team as well, and I know that they're really good at what they do. So these smart contracts, they're going to work through the
Through the nodes.
Master nodes on chain. So all the contract stuff will be on chain. How does that differ from using like some other contracts like Ethereum contracts and such? And what languages are they in?
Ethereum is, for example, everything goes into the block. But here, only the actual output goes into the block, along with an occasional hash. It's almost like having, explain it. You know fidget spinners, right?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. The central ring of the fidget spinner is the POW chain. And then all of the little rings out on the ends of the arms, they're the smart nodes. So they can run in whatever direction they want to run in, but they are still dependent on the POW layer.
Mm-hmm.
In that sense. So they will write, let's say we've got our own version of Tornado Cash. You've sent in 10 grand RTM. It goes into our version of Tornado Cash. It gets bounced around quite a bit. It comes out with a ZK rollup. What gets written to chain is basically just that the transaction happened.
I see. All right. The light paper says that Ghostwriter algorithm can be adjusted without requiring a fork. Is this already true, or is that something that will be true later?
We have code for it. We're not going to deploy it yet. Because we see no signs of ASICs, no signs of FPGAs or anything like that, and we would like to keep it for the hard fork where smart contracts go live. Basically, it's not adjusting the whole thing. It's adjusting the memory parameters of the algorithm enough so that they would mean FPGAs or ASICs need to be reprogrammed.
Gotcha. Do you have your block timing? How does it differ from the 2.5 minute block time that Dash Coin has?
We're running a little bit faster. 2 minutes.
Okay. It looks like you already have forks out there, including what coin?
Yeah.
Do you think this is your main competition, or is this just like you know,
It's a compliment, man.
yeah, flattering, yeah.
I mean, it's people have taken a look at what we're doing, and they've used it to launch other coins, and I take that as a compliment for sure, because we
Gotcha.
have the nodes that can scale. We've got the scaling collateral, and I mean, yeah, that's one other point we've got to mention with the nodes. Our collateral, roughly every 2 months, it rises slowly.
Right, but by
So that
natural attrition, but from the coins you're getting, if you just keep them in there, I mean, you should have them in
you
there, no?
should more or less have them, yeah. Yeah. Depends a little bit on how many people participate, but at the current levels, it looks like it's roughly the case. If you
Gotcha.
look up
Now, how private is this chain compared to Pirate Chain?
base chain, not at all.
Okay.
But we do have Dash's InstaSend. Dash's InstaSend is pretty good, but it's not zk-SNARKs. So what we do have plans for is our own version of Tornado Cash, but where instead of, like on Ethereum, Tornado Cash has to mix an awful lot of public transactions. So you can sort of guess at what the output is. Here,
Right.
Tornado Cash would be able to utilize Dash's private send transactions instead of public transactions.
Well, those
And
privacy.
that does end up with an extremely nice privacy set. But
Okay.
it
Well,
won't be
that's so.
until the contract layer. And it
Gotcha.
won't be in the base layer, just basically because we've also got several use cases lined up that require complete 100% transparency.
Cool.
For example, like tracking validity certificates for different kinds of things. And we want to keep those two parts separate.
Okay. Very cool, man. All right, so let's take some questions from the crowd, guys. You can see that it's a project Piggy's been working on a long time. Charlie isn't here. Actually, he is here in the stage. He's another
He's in
big part of the project.
Canada.
Oh, we don't give personal information here, bro. Relax. So he is another big part of the project. He's amazing. You could listen to our old show. He was here in our last one. When they joined us last time. I think back then it was called Crypto Core Radio still. That's my old radio show. Since then, I stay here, guys. I hang out with my community. My community is Pirate, and this is just where I want to do my shows. And it's nice and easy because everybody can just jump into this voice channel and makes everything just so much easier than setting up servers. And it's I don't want to do that anymore. So IceCast servers and crap like that. So anybody have any questions for Raptoreum? Because we do have BitFi, and I'm not sure if he's here, but if you're here, BitFi, please raise your hands. One hand would be fine. Don't have to put both of them up. And as we work on getting him on stage, guys, raise your hands if you got questions. We got like 1,000 people here. We got like freaking 1 million people inside over here, and right, maybe they're all timid and shy.
Yeah,
No,
but I mean, anything is welcome. Nothing's off limits. There might be too much information in some of the answers, though.
that's all right. You know, we make it a full-fledged show. That's fine.
Oh,
You know, it's a resource, right? You know, you hope it's a resource that people could go back to and get their questions answered.
I think we have one question from
Yeah,
Tritum and from Micker66.
yeah. I invited you guys on. We got Micah, we got Charlie too, and Shritam. So accept the invite, guys. I don't know why Discord makes it so hard to see, but it's at the
It's
top
so
of the
hard to see
window
up
in a
there.
green bar. Hey, Mike.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
What's up, yo?
Pretty good.
Those of you that are from Raptoreum, I'm actually vibing 6up. I run the iNodes shared hosting over there, and I see Chad in here in the room runs the Raptor Node shared node hosting. My question was, knowing that I've heard some whispers in the chat that the future transactions are on their way into the wallet, what do you see as the next major milestone to overcome once that update is out?
But we've got an update that should roughly be out at some point this week, or at the latest very early next week. With futures and adjustable fees.
That's a big deal,
I
think.
Yeah, the adjustable fees are actually a very big deal, because when we do get to assets, we want to stay very, very far away from the problems that Ethereum are having now, where it costs $50 in gas to send 50 USDT on ETH, which is insane.
That's just crazy.
I mean, it's just crazy. So yeah, futures go live on the testnet in our next release, which is at the very latest early next week. But what does go live the whole way through is adjustable fees, which means we can adjust transaction fees across the network using a spork. Yes, it is a bit centralized, but once we get closer to assets, we're going to publish a schedule so everybody can see what's what.
Love it. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Cool.
All right. Very cool. All right, guys, raise your hands. I'll pull you in. There were a few. Oh, there's Charlie. Charlie, at the top, there should be a little green bar. Hit the accept. Some people seem to have trouble. I think it's the.
I don't think it shows up if you're using a browser.
Yeah, I think it's what the devices they're using. Some people can't see the accept on, maybe if he's using a phone or something.
Yeah.
All right, we got more people here. Welcome.
The free porn NFTs.
Porn NFTs?
Hi, Curity. I didn't quite catch that. Sorry.
Will there be furry porn NFTs? Is that project in the works? Partnerships being developed already?
Absolutely.
It sounds like Wolf is here.
Absolutely.
Okay, just checking.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just popped in to let you guys know. Charlie in the chat said that his house is too noisy. That's why he couldn't click the accept for you.
Oh, no worries. No worries. All good. Yeah, so it sounds like somebody's been hanging out with Wolf a little too long.
That might be me.
Before I make my exit here, can I steal a second one more time and just ask, because it hasn't really been talked much about in out in the public. It's been like whispered and mentioned, but is there anything you can say about plans for transactions per second and how that may scale in the future as we lean towards the assets and the smart contracts?
We are not going to scale up the main chain a whole horrible amount. What we are going to do is maybe get a second consensus up and running on the nodes. Once the secondary consensus is up and running on the nodes, the way the BLS signatures, those are the signatures that the nodes use to talk to each other, the way they work and the speed they work at should make it possible to have basically a secondary consensus mechanism up and running there that can kind of record itself as a hash on the main chain from time to time, a bit like how Komodo and Pirate actually do DPAL on Bitcoin. So in that way, locking itself in and making itself immutable, but inside the same system.
So in that way, then, because I've heard a little bit about this idea from Tri, but I don't have, I'm helping him currently work on the assets paper, and I'm still trying to even wrap my mind around it completely. But essentially, it's going to create a second lane of traffic for your assets and your smart contract transactions,
yeah.
correct? Yeah, so I feel like, and correct me if I'm wrong, that's going to create a situation where your TPS for your assets and your contracts are not so limited just by the main chain.
No, yeah, that's correct. We are going to get significantly increased TPS overall. But on the basic chain, we are still going to stay slightly ahead of Bitcoin, and that's it. Because that's the basically most secure way of doing it.
Love it. That's one of the things that I love the most about RTM since I've been around since testnet with you guys, and one of the reasons that motivated me to get the shared nodes up and running is because I feel like the stronger that network is to support that. I don't know of any other chain that does that, that's ever tried that, that's doing that, and I think if as we move forward, if it really comes to fruition and pans out really well, that it could be something special. So
yeah, but it is going to be something for certain. The only others that are doing anything remotely like this at the moment are Horizon.
Yep.
Zen. They have this multiple node structure system, but it's a lot more complicated. They're eventually planning on doing something similar.
Zen is actually the first full node that I ran back a while back when I was learning how they put them on Tor and everything. So that's pretty cool to know. Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. We have another. All right. So we have. So Piggy, thank you for coming again, bro. We have another interview now coming in. You could stay on the stage and ask him questions as well. Love you to join.
Okay. Cool.
This is Daniel. He's from BitFi. And just accept the invitation at the time, Daniel, once you get it. And he's going to talk to us about his project. He was interested in bringing Pirate on. I'm guessing in the future, Raptoreum will have a lot of DeFi services that will be very synergistically involved together with Pirate and Raptoreum. I hope, like we do with other projects.
Yeah.
Hey guys,
welcome, Daniel.
Are you able to? Yes, thank you. Can you hear me?
Hey, how you doing, Daniel?
Loud and clear.
Great. Just checking. Wanted to make sure. I'm kind of new to this Discord feature here.
Well, are you new to crypto in general?
Not so much. No. That's involved. Very knee deep involved in that. So thank you for asking me to join.
No problem.
Yeah, I was asked to. I guess there were some questions in the community regarding kind of how our technology works and how it interfaces with this kind of tech with.
Why don't you give us an introduction as to what BitFi is? Because I don't think anybody here even knows what it is.
Okay, yeah, sure. So, so BitFi is this technology is a new category of hardware wallet, right? Whereas you can kind of break it down into kind of a few simple categories. Whereas before, um, the original hardware wallet came out in 2012, everybody just had software wallets, right? And people were just getting hacked left and right. Everyone was losing, their Bitcoin. It was a major, major problem. And so the answer to that was the first cold storage hardware wallet. And by definition, cold storage is where you're storing private keys in a secure offline environment, right? And so that was kind of the answer to online hacks.
Air
And
gap. Air gap.
well, it's essentially in other words, private keys cannot be accessed by any online means, by online access. Okay.
Correct.
Um, and BitFi is a new category where it is impossible to gain access to private keys either online or physically, right? Because conventional, cold storage devices, have a major problem in the sense that yes, your keys are protected from online access, but if anyone gains physical access, where, for example, this device is lost, stolen, seized, or confiscated, or whatever, it's very easy to extract private keys, and then effectively, all your crypto is gone. So essentially,
So you're like a Trezor or a Ledger Nano type of service?
not at all. So those are examples of a cold storage device, right? So those devices are storing your private keys, right, on like a small gadget. So this is a lot like kind of keeping cash in a safe or something like that. So I mean, if somebody gets it, drills through the safe, they'll take the cash, right, or bars of gold or whatever, which is really not congruent with kind of how cryptocurrency is intended to work, because cryptocurrency, at least when it comes to real cryptocurrency, is intended to be an unseizable asset, right? And so,
100%.
right. So BitFi does not, uh, store anything on this hardware, right? So the hardware that you're using, this device, stores nothing, and it always remains in its original brand new state. In other words, if you, let's say, have been using it for 2 years and it's collected and taken to a forensic computer lab, it would be indistinguishable from a unit that is brand new in a box, because it doesn't store, its state never changes, it doesn't store anything. It does the exact inverse of what traditional hardware wallets are doing, which is storing, the seed and all the private keys, right? This is doing the inverse of that. It is deleting everything instantly. So the way that it works, it's a very elegant approach, right? So essentially, you're entering, a user-created secret phrase, and then the device will derive computationally, will calculate a private key from that input for whatever currency you're currently using, right? That key will then, comes into existence for a fraction of a second. To sign the transaction, the signature is then transmitted to the blockchain. And of course, the private key instantly is purged and disappears. And everything is wiped and overwritten from RAM and all the memory chips, right? And so there's nothing on this device. So in other words, if this hardware was collected, right, or seized from someone, right, it would be utterly impossible, right? It would be a pointless exercise trying to retrieve crypto from this wallet, because it doesn't exist, right? You can't extract or seize or steal something that isn't there to begin with, right? So it's a relatively simple approach. It's not that like there are layers and layers of security or anything like that, or encryption, because all those things can be broken. It's simply that there isn't anything to take. So in this case, a good analogy would be like, it's like drilling into an empty safe. And so, when it comes to you know, privacy assets like, you know, like this one, right? And obviously it's very consistent with that paradigm, because it's kind of, you have you're going to all these lengths, where developers are going to all these extreme lengths to kind of make sure the transactions are untraceable and no one can know anything. And then, well, it could be taken from you at any time with just, physical access. So this kind of prevents that, and effectively it makes,
What do you guys do to stop to overwrite memory states at the end of a usage session?
So there is a lot that went into that, and we are now on like the 45th version of firmware, and this process has been refined over time. So it's much more than just like a delete command, right? It's a complete overwrite, and this actually can be examined in the open source code, right? So if you look at the open source code, you can see that it is guaranteed that the memory is completely wiped after every single use. So there's no remnants or anything that could remain in memory. And there's multiple techniques, and I know that because our kind of, when we started out, we kind of have a bit of a colorful history, in the sense that when this product first appeared, John McAfee got super excited about it, and he just started tweeting like crazy, telling the whole world how this is completely unhackable. And of course, because he understood the concept that, look, I mean, that we're deleting everything, and so and so conceptually, yes, but the people in the hacking, the hackers, it's like waving a red flag in front of a bull. I mean, you just kind of don't say that. So so the whole army of some of the best hackers in the world came after this, and just started attacking us and all of our systems and infrastructure around the clock for like weeks. And they've demonstrated a few different attacks, and we're talking about where this kind of started within basically like 2 weeks of launch, because there was a lot of excitement for this tech. And so since then, we, on the one hand, it was very unpleasant. On the other hand, we effectively got like maybe, $5 to $10 million worth of, pen testing services for free, because these people were so adamant, so eager to prove McAfee wrong, right? That they just went to extreme lengths that no pen testing firm would go to in trying to find flaws. Okay, so we then, used that data to then perfect, whatever was kind of left. And so there's a lot of techniques that are used, including not just, the memory management techniques, but also, like, for example, like the text that when you're typing, right, the letters that you see is not text, right? What's actually happening is that these are bitmap images where each letter is being drawn, painted effectively as you type, right? So there's no like, it would be like bitmap gibberish if someone, could even, let's say, see that stream, right? Because they're not actual text letters. And there's a lot of things that, I'm not really, in terms of like from a very technical aspect, I'm sure that our CTO can provide very, in-depth technical details, but there were several, serious experts involved in memory management to ensure that absolutely, no remnants remain on anywhere within that circuit board after transaction is complete, right? So everything is wiped, overwritten, and this has been extensively tested, so and can be proven, right? So in a nutshell, that's how it works, and basically this is how really how it was intended, because it's not just about the kind of ultimate security, right? It's also about just practicality. If you think about it, like for example, what happens if you can't gain access? Because for example, one of the biggest security issues that are really not discussed, but that is obvious, is that people with having these 24 word backups on a steel plate or a piece of paper. I mean, obviously, if you see that a piece of paper with 24 words at somebody's house, I mean, you just found money, right? It's a standardized format. What
All
else
right,
can it be?
so how does
You know?
this process work, man? I'm still confused. So if there's nothing in the safe, where are your coins?
Well, um, they don't exist. The coins are in your mind, right? So your entire net worth when you're using this technology. Well, let's assume there's two possible states. One is where you create a secret phrase and you just remember it, you memorize it, which some people choose to do. Some users are not very comfortable trusting, they're like, what if I hit my head? What if I get injured, and I hit my head and I forget everything? Okay, so those people might, memorize it and write it down just in case. So in the case where you memorize the secret phrase, your entire net worth is in your consciousness and nowhere else. If you, memorized it and wrote it down, then technically speaking, it would be in your consciousness and on that piece of paper, right? But even so, even if you wrote it down, it's still kind of harder to identify what it is because there's no standardized format of putting in 24 words that everybody can see instantly that they just found money. It's just kind of a random sentence. And then even so that, there's a salt would be needed. So,
All right, so once you put in this secret password or phrase, right, and then you have access to your coins again?
well, that is your coins, right? So think of it this way, right? So this is a simple analogy. So there's, I don't know, $15 billion worth of Bitcoin. The top Bitcoin address right now has something like $15 billion worth of Bitcoin. So the only thing that you need to control that Bitcoin is the private key, period. So that private key is effectively the wallet for that Bitcoin. That's all that you would ever need, right? In this case, the secret phrase is the wallet for all of your crypto assets because it is the input from which the private keys for all your currencies are derived. So, simple analogy would be to think of a calculator, right? So, with a calculator, if you, let's say, perform the input of 5 times 6, the output is going to be 30, right? So, it's always 30, no matter when you do it, no matter which calculator you're using and from which brand, it doesn't matter. Here, it's kind of like, similar in the sense that salt times secret phrase equals, the output would be the private key for whatever currency you're using. So if at the moment you're trying to use Bitcoin, it would calculate the private key for that Bitcoin address. If you're trying to use,
It sounds like you're just exchanging one key for another key, a different key for a different type of key.
yeah, think of it as kind of like a master key, right? So essentially,
It's instead of using HD keys like BIP 39 or BIP 44 keys, I think this is actually BIP 44 with just a couple of changes added to it. When you use that to make a wallet, except here you do it every time. Nothing is stored anywhere.
correct. And there's no password. There's no PIN code or anything like that. Yeah. Every time you operate this device, you're entering your salt and secret phrase. Okay. And some people would say, yeah, but what about entropy? Is because what the recommended format, right? Because there's multiple ways of setting this up. But typically we would say, okay, for the salt, use something like 2 words. For the secret phrase, use 7 words. Okay. And the words can be selected from the Diceware word list, okay, which is not the BIP 39 word list, but the Diceware word list, or just, kind of random words. We provide guidance on what could be done. So, but effectively, mathematically speaking, is that the entropy of this format is higher than 24 BIP 39 words. And the reason is because, here's why. BIP 39 is 2,400 something words, right? And 24 words are selected from this list, okay? And all of the words contain letters that are not case sensitive. There are no special characters. There are no numbers, just letters, okay? Let's just assume they're all uppercase letters. Here, it's an open format. And if you're using the Diceware word list, it's 7,770 words. And so the letters could be uppercase or lowercase. Instead of 26 letters in the English alphabet, you have 52 letters.
So this still has to stay within the constraints of the Diceware word list.
No. You could literally put in any words you want. You could completely make up your own sentence with random. You can make up words in your own special language.
Because that right there is where you can get security. Because the Diceware word list, sure, it's better than the BIP word list, but I mean, it gets to the point of being semantics, because both can be cracked.
All right, let's take some questions from the crowd, because I got to be out in 3 minutes. So sorry, guys, but I got a meeting at 7:30 for an event for Pirates, so I got to be there. But thank you for coming on, guys. Daniel, sorry you came on a little late. I had a half an hour reserved for both of you. But it sounds like an interesting project you're working on, Dan. I'd have to research it a lot more to really wrap my head around what you're saying over there. It sounds like Piggy has it better understanding.
Yeah, it's the passphrase, right?
Mm-hmm.
For your wallet. Instead of having those words come from only a list, they've built it so you can use any words.
Any character, any number, literally, you could use all the special characters. Absolutely anything is the input. Yes.
And that, from the standpoint of trying to crack something, makes it go exponentially harder.
Right.
Not just not just a little bit harder.
Right. A brute force attack would need to be a lot more than just alphabets, characters, dictionary words.
Yeah, and even worse, just words from lists.
Right, words from lists. Yep.
It's still hard enough with the words from the lists, but when you can use literally anything, this sounds like something I'm going to have a look at.
Cool. And Daniel, hit me up. I have a meeting now, but if you want to have a private meeting with me, I guess you're interested in adding Pirate to your project, from what I hear.
Well, we're getting a lot of requests for this, a lot of interest. So this is being coming up often. I have to say that it's a little bit more difficult for us to add than sort of something for like the other wallets, because they're just sort of installing software that is made by the coin developers or whatever. In this case, we have to build a custom algorithm from scratch in order to derive the correct key from that same input, right? So it takes a little bit longer, a little more effort, but otherwise, I mean, we're obviously always very passionately involved in the space.
Cool.
It does sound like this is an exciting project.
Awesome. I'm gonna invite you to Acorn real quick. Piggy's there as well. Acorn is the R&D department for Pirate. So welcome to our R&D. I just sent you the invite. And once I get done, I'll give you the proper permissions to see stuff. All right, guys. Piggy, if Piggy says you're cool, and you're cool, man. See, Piggy's old school. That's why I trust him. I trust the developers. I trust my friends. Right. So, people out there, you're playing guessing games, right? I mean, I know a lot, but compared to average people, I know, it's you need to know people like Piggy. You need to know people. You need to know the devs. You need to have some developer friends where you can ask questions, and they're going to tell you, no, man, that's bullshit, right? Or like Daniel coming on today and Piggy saying, oh man, this sounds pretty cool, right?
Coming from as a lot more digging in. Obviously, we want him to take a very serious look. Obviously, I'm sure this is just kind of a very brief intro, but yeah, we'd love to have his feedback once he has a chance to, assess this a little bit more in depth.
We're a lot of old school crypto people here, Daniel.
Yeah, but I mean, this, from what I've seen so far on the GitHub, while talking to you, it looks awesome, really. But I haven't set up firmware and stuff like that to play with it. But it looks good.
Awesome. I love to hear that.
There's more on the website, actually. GitHub is something I know that our team hardly uses. It's mostly on everything's on bitfi.com. Probably more resources there.
Oh, but I just need to see what it does.
Right.
That should be on GitHub.
All right. Very cool, guys. Hey, welcome Daniel to the community.
Thank you,
Guys,
gentlemen.
if you don't know Piggy, get to know him. Join Raptoreum Discord. Piggy, if you could throw the link up for your Discord so we get some pirates over there.
Yeah.
And just keep following the projects. That's what this is all about. Following projects. Don't jump in a project and get that. You got to finesse it, right? Like a woman, you got to finesse it, man. You got to talk a little bit. You got to touch a little bit, not right away, but a little bit, right? And once you get to know the project good, and you get a feeling like, oh, all right, this looks good. This could work out. Then that's when you jump in with both feet. Not sure if I could say it any better way than that. All right, guys. This is Lootz. Thank you all for coming. We had a tremendous turnout today.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for having us.
It's a pleasure. Thank you, gentlemen.
No problem, Daniel. The link. Throw some links in the chat above us if you can, so people could find your project. And Piggy, if you can, do the same as well. And I love you guys. Thank you for coming today. And feel free, if you got updates and you want to come back on, you just hit me up and we'll bring you on to a meeting anytime you want.
Cool.
Thank you so much, Lootz. Thank you.
Thanks, man. Yeah.
All right, guys. This is Lootz signing out. Love you all. Laters.
Ship was privacy. The winds blew hard and fear dipped down below me. Crypto boys blow. She'd not been but 2 years from shore when her value it began to soar. The captain called all hands and swore he'd take those